When I was taking mass transit, I used to have the opportunity to sketch a lot of people unbeknownst to them. And 20 years ago, this was not such a problem. People didn't seem to mind. One day in particular, a woman got on my train when I was working downtown and commuting to Lower Manhattan, and she was just stunning, drop dead gorgeous to me. And I found myself sketching her avidly and transfixed to the extent that I crossed over to sit on her side of the car to get a closer look. Her complexion was flawless, and what happened was I pushed my luck, and she turned around. She was looking down, and she looked at me like she gave me a slow, long stare, and I realized I was busted. So I said to her, I said, "Look, I'm sorry for staring. Forgive me, please, but I've just never seen, a woman as beautiful as you are." And at that point, she reaches into her full head of thick hair and pulls out her earplugs and says, "What?" She didn't hear a word that I said, so I have another chance to do this one. So I said to her, I'm sorry, forgive me for staring, but I just think you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And fortunately, right around that time, her stop arrives downtown on Wall Street, and she gets up, and as she's parting, she looks over at me, she says, "You have a nice day." So I figured, yes, good start. A few weeks later, I find myself in a fast food place, and I see her online up at the front. So I'm fumbling for my book and trying to sort of stage an accidental, bumping into each other. And I say to her, "Look, do you remember me?" And she says, "Well, yes, I remember you." And I said, "Look, I want to show you something in my sketchbook I did a few weeks ago." And I showed it to her. I said, "Look, I'd really be flattered if you considered posing for a portrait." It's real, and right away she gave me her name and her number in my sketchbook here. So step one was accomplished. The next step I figured was to have a lunch, a meet and greet. I didn't think she'd go off with me to some place where I would paint her without, getting together and knowing what I'm about and sort of removing any of the mystery. So we had sushi, I guess, downtown somewhere. I don't really remember. Just to get over the jitter she might have. I didn't imagine she'd take off with me without getting to know me better. So what I had to do was set the date and pick her up. She was still living with her parents, and I met them. They seemed pretty cool about the project because one of them, I think, was an artist, so they were kind of keen on this, and they looked me over to make sure I wasn't some crazed axe murderer, and we left, and I took her over to my place at that point. I was living in Fort Lee, New Jersey, over the Hudson River. We get into my apartment, and she immediately says, "There's a little problem. I only have 2 hours to do this." And I was a little disturbed because I wanted about 6. I thought I could get a lot done if I had that much time. And then what promptly happens is that the phone rings, and it's her boyfriend. He's got my number. This is, remember, pre-cell phone days in 1989. So, "Is Sabrina there?" So I said, "Yeah, of course." He's obviously checking to make sure that I'm not going to draw and quarter her. And she chats with him, gets off the phone. I said, "Oh, that's nice. So what does your boyfriend do?" And she says, "He's a New York City cop." I'm like, "Great, terrific." So we get some really quick studies done, some pencil drawings, and I go to the canvas and start doing the washy underpaintings that you see here. And I said to her, "Look, you got to let me take photographs because I'll need to work from those references." And she was cool with that. In fact, she was a model who had a portfolio going, and she understood that part of it. So I take her home. Fast forward a few weeks later, I'm avidly working on this in a white hot fit of creativity. I'm painting my brains out. And when it's done, I contact her and I say, "Look, I'd like for you to see it. I'd like to take a picture of you near it." I saw a very funny photo of the two models in Grant Wood's American Gothic posing near the painting, and I thought it was a hoot, and I would always try to do that if possible with my subjects. So I bring it over to her place, and I take pictures of her with it. And here's one. And I say my goodbyes. I'm obviously keeping the painting. I'm leaving. So she walks me to the elevator, and she says, "Listen, give me a call sometime. We'll get together." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do that." And as the elevator doors are closing, I'm thinking to myself, Look, she has a boyfriend whose job, requires him to carry a gun. He knows where I live. I don't think I'm going to be acting on this one, unless I'm feeling suicidal at some point in my life. But it's good to know that I had that opportunity, and it was great. 20 years ago, people were a little more trusting. And I hope you like this story about my painting of Sabrina. If you have any comments, please add them to the comment section. And if you want to post a response, I'd love to see one. Thanks.